shifting finance towards a resilient, low-carbon future is vital. We won't be able to build the energy, transport, and food system needed for a successful economy without adequate investment. While developed countries and China can finance their own transition, experts say developing countries will need around $1.3 trillion per year in external finance by 2035. This was the main topic of discussion at COP29 in Baku in November 2024. There, developed countries pledged $300 billion annually by 2035 for developing countries. Countries also agreed to work together to mobilize the remaining $1 trillion from all sources of finance over the same time frame. However, 2025 turned out to be a turbulent year for development and climate finance. Several countries announced reduction in foreign aid, with the United States eliminating its International Development Agency altogether. These cuts will have negative impact on climate finance. But the $1.3 trillion is a 10-year goal. While we face challenges now, we need to keep our eyes on 2035. Last year, we said that figuring out how the world could mobilize this climate finance would be the story to watch in 2025. This turned out to be true. Early in the year, the Brazilian COP presidency asked a group of experts to develop a report on this topic called the Baku to Belém Roadmap, unveiled at COP30 in November. There was also a complementary Circle of Ministers report created by Minister of Finance, showing continued commitment from a broad swath of governments, companies, and citizens. Last January, we highlighted that the $1.3 trillion would need to come from multiple sources. We will examine what happened to each of them. Let's start from the left side of the column, with the $300 billion pledged in Baku. This was made up of three parts: bilateral, multilateral development banks, or MDBs, and private capital leverage by these funds. As we discussed earlier, rich countries announced reduction in bilateral funds last year. However, there was also a bright spot at COP30 in Belém, where countries agreed to triple adaptation investment to $120 billion a year by 2035, up from a goal of $40 billion for 2025. This would come from bilateral and multilateral sources. Last year, we said MDBs will play a key role in scaling up finance. In 2025, MDBs use their balance sheet creatively to increase the amount they could lend, including for climate. Some credit agencies argue that MDBs can do even more while keeping their high credit rating. MDBs also focused on leveraging private capital at scale. For example, the IFC closed a securitization deal in late 2025 to attract pension funds and insurers into emerging markets. But countries need more than $300 billion. Last year, we said three other things need to happen to further increase public finance flows. First, MDBs would need capital increase between 2025 and 2035. This did not happen last year, and we didn't expect it to happen. Second, we argued that new international taxes on shipping and aviation could contribute significantly toward closing the gap. Unfortunately, countries could not agree on the International Maritime Organization's proposed fee on shipping, as many had hoped. Though a group of countries did commit to imposing a fee on private jets and premium airfares to help raise climate funds, the number of countries remains small. But the effort could have a meaningful impact if ramped up. Third, we noted that new innovation is needed to bring more capital in. Although the environmental impact of artificial intelligence must be carefully managed, we've also seen the beginning of what AI can do for the planet. For example, AI was used to generate a global data set of tree heights of 1 meter resolution, an innovation that could transform the restoration economy and underpin transparent carbon markets, a sector projected to reach $1.2 trillion by 2050. But the last point we made was that private capital for the transition in developing countries needs the most innovation. This is the remaining half of the $1.3 trillion. We were right about the importance of private capital. This was the main topic in every global discussion, including in G20, G7, UN General Assembly, and the COP30. We continue to see increased private sector investments in renewable energy in emerging markets, though not anywhere near the scale we need. However, the most interesting development was the flow of domestic private capital from businesses and families going towards solar panels in places like Pakistan and South Africa. The key is to grow this investment exponentially over the next decade. A variety of factors will need to converge to make this happen, including laws and policies that encourage private investments to be predictable and profitable for investors of all types. The $1.3 trillion is a goal that needs to be met in 10 years. This was just the first year. We have encountered challenges, but our focus remains the same. Be sure to check out Stories to Watch 2026.